Welcome to my new series, the Bombshell Book Club, where every Sunday I will be exploring a book related to beauty, glamour, or old Hollywood bombshells. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, then be sure to subscribe because I have lots of amazing books lined up for this series and I'm so excited to get started. But if you do have any suggestions for me of books you would like me to read and cover on this channel, then please let me know in the comments below any books I should be reading. We're starting off strong with this series with Women and Beauty by Sophia Loren. This was actually recommended to me by a commenter, so I would like to thank her very much for that suggestion because I absolutely loved this book. I never heard of it before, but I feel like Sophia Loren is one of the most beautiful women of all time. She is an Italian icon. She is an old Hollywood icon, and I feel like a lot of women would really get inspired and benefit from reading a book related to beauty and about beauty by a woman who has experienced being called the most beautiful woman in the world and has experienced aging and motherhood and all the things that come with womanhood and beauty. And she has some really interesting experiences and reflections on that. You'll be glad to know that Sophia Loren is still alive today. She is 90 years old and she is as glamorous and graceful as ever. I think her most recent movie was only about 4 or 5 years ago. She acted in an Italian film with her son, who's also an actor. So she's an incredibly talented woman. She's so funny and vivacious and confident. And of course, she's incredibly beautiful. Every time you see her in an interview, she just has the other person completely mesmerized by her. She's so flirtatious and fun and effortlessly stunning, and the person on the other side is always just so completely in awe of her. She's not only a gorgeous woman, but she has that indescribable thing. She's glamorous, right? She has that je ne sais quoi, if you will, that is just so infectious and mesmerizing, and she really affects everybody that she's around. So this is what the book looks like if you were wondering. She wrote this book in the 80s when I believe she was 50 years old. So at this point she had had a lot of life experience, and of course now at 90 years old I'm sure she has so much more, and I would be so intrigued to hear her thoughts on everything that she spoke about in this book. But just seeing how she is nowadays and seeing how she still does her beautiful signature makeup look and she still has a very similar style, I feel like she has a very similar relationship with beauty that she did when she was 50 and when she was even younger. She has remained the same throughout her whole life, and she's just such an inspiring person for that, because reading this book and then knowing now that she went on to live 40 more years and seeing how she's thriving now at 90 years old, it's just incredible to see. So I just wanted to get started by reading you a little excerpt of the introduction of the book, just so you get a little bit of perspective of her insights on beauty and where she's coming from. I've given the idea of beauty a great deal of thought for this book. The first thing I realized is that there is no particular way for you to become beautiful, no matter what you may read elsewhere. Unfortunately, it is more complicated than that. But I have worked in a business that prizes beauty very highly. Being professionally beautiful has taught me a lot, and I think that my experience can help you. My goal has been to help you take a second, mature look about how a woman is beautiful. The most exciting part of this mature approach to beauty is that it does not depend on possessing the dewy cheeks of a teenager or making up to disguise an imperfect nose. It depends on qualities available to us all: charm, warmth, wisdom, and the intelligence and imagination you can bring to improving the way you look. At the beginning of this book, Sophia really highlights how when she was younger and throughout her entire career, she was criticized for her features and the way she looked. She was constantly criticized for the way her mouth was and the way her nose was, and she was told that all of her features shouldn't make sense, they shouldn't be beautiful, but somehow they all come together and the sum of them is beautiful. It was constantly suggested to her that she get plastic surgery, and she didn't want to alter her face. She was perfectly happy with how she was, and even as a very young woman, she had the strength to be confident in how she looked, and she found herself beautiful. So she didn't let any of this get to her. She didn't let it affect her. One thing that's so striking about Sophia Loren is that she just has this natural confidence, and it doesn't come across as conceited or self-obsessed or vain. It just comes across as this very innocent and very healthy self-love that she has. She's just confident and comfortable in herself. We're very sensitive sometimes as women, and trends and beauty standards are constantly confronting us throughout our lives. And of course, in a career like Sophia Loren's, it was confronting her constantly. And so it's really important to build that strength and that trust in yourself, to feel beautiful and to feel like your features and your uniqueness is special, and it's something to value and to hold dear to your heart. Like Sophia Loren, it's really important to be just proud of your uniqueness and what makes you you. Sadly, today's Instagram face epidemic shows that too many women are afraid to embrace their natural and unique features. They would rather clone themselves to the beauty standard of the current era, rather than embracing their natural features and being proud of who they are. Sophia reminds us that beauty is not a very precise standard. It's not a list of features. She says, you know, imagine all the beautiful women in your life. Do they fit a list of features, or are they all completely, uniquely beautiful? Beauty just transcends time and reason. It doesn't have a calculated preciseness. It is completely without definition. The way people were so in awe of her beauty, even though her individual features weren't the perfect beauty standard of the time, just proves that there is no preciseness in beauty. It's not a calculated list of features that must be ticked off, and that beauty is truly unique. Sophia Loren had an incredibly unique beauty, and it's something that was so beautiful that we even remember it today. So I think this is a nice reminder for all of us to just not bother ourselves with this narrow-mindedness around beauty, because that is just so limiting, and we truly know within ourselves that that is not the definition of beauty. The beauty standard is never the definition of beauty. Sophia Loren's perspective on beauty is very empowering, and she wants to remind women that beauty is both within reach for everybody, and that it's also worth working for. It's worth it. It is important, but it's also something that everybody can obtain. In order to obtain beauty, one must actually believe themselves to be beautiful, not in a vain, conceited way, but in a positive way where you have a good relationship with yourself and you truly believe in your own beauty, because that will then be the motivation to nurture and protect and enhance it. Sophia wants us to know that we should value our own beauty and not abandon it. So beauty requires discipline. It requires confidence, self-assuredness, and discipline. It's not something that someone either has or does not have, but it is something that you should nurture and protect. Sophia says that the difference between a beautiful woman and an average woman is discipline. Discipline is extremely important when it comes to beauty. And I couldn't agree more with this perspective, because it kind of gives yourself the onus. You have the responsibility to either protect or abandon your beauty. An excuse you should never use for neglecting yourself is lack of time. Sometimes we tell ourselves we're too busy to do this or that, but really this is just an empty excuse. The only time a woman may be too busy to look after herself is when she has a baby at home. That kind of gives you a broad idea about what she thinks about beauty and your relationship to beauty as a woman, and I couldn't agree more with the things she said. I find them very inspiring and empowering. She also talks about hair and how it can give you a whole new aura and personality based on how you style it. And she really learned that as an actress. It really helped her get into character when they did her hair a certain way, because then she took on the energy and the personality of the character. Your hair is definitely a big indicator of the kind of woman you are, and so she obviously advocates for grooming your hair and finding what makes you feel like yourself. She thinks hair is so important that she said it can even affect your spirit and your approach to life. She also talks about taking time for indulgence when it comes to skincare and the treatment of your body, bathing, how it should be ritualized, and there's a certain way that she likes to do it, which she describes in the book. She also talks about how she famously uses olive oil. She uses a lot of natural products on her body, so it's not necessarily something that has to be super fancy. She uses very basic products, but it's all about the ritual and looking after yourself and how it truly makes you feel when you put in that time and effort. By the end of the spa, you'll be ready for a glass of wine or a cup of tea, and you'll be irresistible. When it comes to makeup, Sophia Loren sees it as an art. An art, as Aristotle said, completes what nature has left unfinished. She talks about how important it is to know your own face and know what makeup look suits you, because other people don't necessarily have that same vision of yourself in mind. And she has really learned that throughout her career as an actress, working with different makeup artists. She would say that oftentimes it felt like they were doing makeup on her based on what they thought she should look like. But of course, she had her own idea of what she should look like and what makes her feel comfortable. And when you're truly comfortable, you're unstoppable. That's the really important thing about beauty, is that it takes time and it takes a really good eye. You need to know what truly suits you and what truly feels like yourself. And there's a little bit of your soul in that. Sometimes I like to think that we're all avatars. If you had, my avatar, you would probably dress her differently or style her differently or do her makeup differently, because we're all completely different and we put a little bit of our souls and ourselves into our look, and that's what makes us unique, and that's what makes us feel either comfortable or uncomfortable in a certain look. And Sophia Loren said it was really obvious when a makeup artist would do her makeup in a way that would make her feel uncomfortable, because she just wouldn't be quite herself. She wouldn't be able to be confident and comfortable in her beauty like she usually was. And that's really important in order to feel beautiful and feel like yourself. So of course you're all glammed up and you look pretty, but it also just looks like the most natural thing in the world. You're not feeling like you're wearing something. It's just so natural to you. So when she describes evening makeup, she talks about how it is a great opportunity to realize a fantasy. I just had to read this part of the book because I find it so cool, and I wholeheartedly agree. Like, a lot of this book is her putting into words what I genuinely feel about things, the way I analyze things like beauty, and it's just so satisfying to hear Sophia Loren talking about it in this way. The woman who spends all day in a business suit with just a bit of mascara and lipstick on her face can become a gypsy at night with smoldering eyes and ruby lips. The nurse can become a princess, the mother a sophisticate. The opportunities are unlimited. The element of fantasy is important to every woman and should not be ignored. The evening is no time for the timid and the ordinary. Even if you don't sparkle with witty conversation, you can still sparkle with makeup that tells the world that you are a woman of mystery and surprise. I mean, what else can I say? I agree wholeheartedly that there's a certain creativity and magic about a woman when she gets all dolled up. It's her version, it's her curated version of what dolled up is. Going out at night, becoming someone different, becoming someone in your fantasy that you always dreamed of being. If you're like a princess or a really sophisticated woman, or you have a sexy smoldering eye, every woman I think has her signature thing that makes her just come alive and makes her fantasies and her dreams come alive. From when she was a little girl, all the things that have become aesthetically pleasing to her, and she's really experimenting and creative with those things. It's so incredible to watch that come to life for a woman, and it's very important for us women to nurture that part of ourselves, the fantasy, the fun, and the glamour, of course. She also talks about perfume in such a lovely way. She calls it an intimate accessory, and I am a huge fan of perfume. I love perfume, and what she says about perfume is just so iconic, and I don't think I will ever forget it. Perfume, like silk, wine, and fresh flowers, is to me one of the necessary luxuries of life. It is said that love and perfume you must not hoard. It can be one of the most emotionally appealing of all accessories, so use it freely. And since it can be very expensive, you should look after it. So she does include, you know, the little tidbits about looking after your perfume bottles and how you shouldn't leave them in direct sunlight. But I absolutely love the way she describes perfume. It is an intimate accessory, and it's something that's often overlooked by so many people, but it has so many emotional connections to it that it's so important, and it should be considered. I mean, everything in beauty should be considered, but perfume, it has that magical quality that's hard to describe, right? There's just something incredibly magical about it. It's invisible. It appeals to obviously the sense of smell, and it's so powerful. The smell of someone's perfume is something that you will never forget. So when considering what perfume to wear and when applying your perfume, you should definitely use it freely. She talks about clothes a lot and the importance of finding your personal style, which is all stuff that I'm really interested in and really care about. And I find it very important to have a style that you can bring with you throughout your entire life. It's not based on trends. It's something that you will bring to your grave. You will be an old lady and still identifying and loving these things because they're so incredibly ingrained in you and are part of who you are. But she also talks about scarves in such a fun way as well, and it's something that I found really inspiring too. She said, "There is another quality about scarves that is as valuable as their versatility and their color. Flung around the neck, blowing in the breeze, drifting on the night air, scarves have a romance about them." And when I read this, it really reminded me of India and the dupattas that the ladies wear, and how in Bollywood movies they really use scarves as a romantic feature of a woman. There's always a woman with like a flowing dupatta. It's just so beautiful, and I definitely do feel very elevated, very elegant, and very glamorous whenever I wear a scarf like that, because there is just such a beautiful romance about it, and there's something really feminine about a flowing scarf in the night air, like Sophia Loren described. So I really love that little description there too. There's a lot of cool things in here about life and about beauty, and it's very interesting to hear from a woman like Sophia Loren, who has not clung on to her youth how some people do when their whole career is focused on their looks. She definitely has a really refreshing and beautiful perspective on aging, and I think it's very important for every elegant and glamorous woman to let go of the ideal of youth and just embrace every moment of your life with grace and find the beauty in it, because there is so much beauty in getting older, and I think every wise woman can really understand that. I enjoy being 50, and if that sounds as if I am just putting a good face on things, I'm not. It is the truth. I am so much more comfortable with myself than I have ever been. I know myself much better, and I know how to use my time, how to expend my energies, and what gives me pleasure. There is an enormous satisfaction in this, and it can only be learned with time. The first task women have in creating an enduring image of beauty is to find a completely individual look. Certain women, Greta Garbo or Katharine Hepburn for example, have highly personal looks, and they wear their age with grace. They have discovered what suits them in the way of clothing and makeup and have stuck with this look throughout a lifetime. In the chapters on elegance and fashion, I have discussed ways of finding your special signature. It is not easy and it takes time and effort, but I believe it is the single most important factor in keeping a woman beautiful throughout her life. I couldn't agree more with this. I absolutely feel like having a signature is so important for a woman. And Sophia Loren certainly has signature elements to her look and her style as well that she has carried with her, and she is 90 now and she still has those elements. And the way she does her eye makeup, I mean, this woman is so inspiring. She knows what she is talking about. She is the true definition of grace, elegance, and glamour. She also talks about how toxic and pointless and even grotesque it is to chase youth so much when you become older. She says a contrast that is grotesque, the contrast between the woman herself and her attempts to look young. And towards the end of the book, she talks about a quality like confidence that is so important to have, and that is tranquility. She believes that her life experience has given her a level of tranquility that has seen her through her life and aging and all the experiences of love and womanhood and motherhood and everything that she has struggled through in her life. She has found tranquility in these moments in her life. She talks about how on an airplane, she loves the solitude of an airplane because she does her best thinking when she's just sitting there with nothing to do on an airplane. And that's quite funny looking at the way airplanes are set up in this day and age. It's kind of considered a torture method if you're just sitting there with nothing to do, but Sophia Loren absolutely loves that. She has become so comfortable in herself that those moments alone are just completely tranquil and creative and inspiring for her. So here is the quote that she finishes off the book with. "There is a fountain of youth. It is in your mind, your talents, the creativity you bring to your life, and the lives of the people you love. When you learn to tap into this source, you will truly have defeated age." So there are so many brilliant gems in here that I haven't even discussed in this video because it would become too long. And maybe these book videos will become longer as I go along, but I want to know if anybody has read this book and what you think. I absolutely love it. I feel like I will come back to it. I love the writing in it. It's just so charming, and it does have elements of her personality in it from what I've seen in her interviews. She is truly an inspiring woman, someone to look up to. She is 90 years old. She has lived an incredible life, and she has remained graceful and elegant and truly beautiful throughout it all. So she's definitely a big inspiration and a wonderful old Hollywood bombshell that I will definitely discuss again in another book video because I have her autobiography, which I will be reading as well about her life. She's had a very interesting life. She is from Naples, Italy, and she grew up there during the war. She has been through so much, and she has had an amazing glamorous life of an old Hollywood celebrity as well. So lots of really interesting stuff to come. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!